One of the biggest questions going into Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is which villains will be used. In the first game we got a ton of the classic Spider-Man villains, everyone from Tombstone to Dr. Octopus, but there's still plenty of villains that we haven't seen yet that could appear in the sequel. So in today's video we're going to be going over 5 of the most likely villains that are going to appear in Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Obviously, we know for sure that we're going to get Venom and Kraven the Hunter, and we'll probably see some villains that were in the first game, so we're going to put all of them to the side and talk about villains that are unconfirmed or just rumoured for the sequel, and ones that we didn't see in the first game specifically. So starting us off, we have the Lizard. We did see Kurt Connors in the post-credit scenes of Miles Morales.
He's been in there long enough.
Mr. Osborn, I understand he's your son, but his disease could...
Kurt.
So obviously we know from this that he is working with Norman Osborn and likely with Oscorp as a whole. We also know that Spider-Man has fought the Lizard before in this universe. We see somebody dress up as him at the university party, and we can also find a vial of the Lizard's blood in one of the backpacks in the game. Spidey says that he's managed to find a cure and change the Lizard back to Dr. Connors, but the cure didn't last, so we could potentially see Kurt Connors return to being the Lizard in the sequel. And next on our list is Mysterio, another classic Spider-Man villain. We again know that this Spider-Man has tangled with Mysterio before, but we have absolutely no idea where he is as of right now. Mysterio is definitely a villain that could come with some cool fights. I imagine them to be kind of like the Scorpion fight in the first game, a lot of fake stuff, seeing things that aren't real, and all of the usual Mysterio good stuff. The only time Mysterio is outright mentioned by Spider-Man in the game is when we find a piece of his cracked helmet in a backpack. And Peter goes on to say that he used the helmet to get ideas for his new eye lenses in his mask. So Mysterio is definitely a cool villain that could potentially come in the sequel. And next on our list is the Sandman. The Sandman is a favourite villain of mine, he always has been since I was a kid, and the only time he's mentioned in the first game is again of course in a backpack. We find a vial of sand and Peter says that he doesn't know if opening it will set the Sandman free, and I definitely want to see and fight Sandman in this game at some point. I just hope it's an actual fight and not one of those ones where he just turns into a big monster and all you do is dodge his hands and throw things at him. I mean, that'd be cool once, but I'd like to actually fight him too. And fourth on our list is Morbius, another one of my favourite villains. And no, I'm not memeing because of the awful movie, I genuinely have always loved Morbius, and I think that he'd be a perfect villain for a DLC in the sequel. I'm not going to talk too much about Morbius here, because soon I'm going to make a video about my idea for a Morbius DLC, so with that said, let's just move on to the fifth and final place. And our fifth and final villain for the 5 most likely villains in Spider-Man 2 is of course the Green Goblin. A lot of people believe that the Green Goblin will be saved for the third game, and of course that is 100% possible. I just think that it is very likely that we will see at least a massive tease to the Green Goblin in Spider-Man 2. In the first game we can find the Green Goblin helmet and pumpkin bombs among other things. My theory is that Harry will die in the sequel, which will push Norman to turn himself into the Green Goblin to kill Spider-Man. And of course we are going to see the Green Goblin at some point, if not in the second game, at least in the third game. The Green Goblin is Spider-Man's arch nemesis. I mean, in the 616 comics, he literally killed Gwen Stacy, the absolute love of Peter Parker's life. The stories you could tell with this character are insane, and while I do mostly agree that he will be saved for the third game, assuming we get a third game, I think that there is definitely a possibility that we could still see him appear in Spider-Man 2. Pretty much every single Spider-Man villain is possible for this sequel. Everyone from returning characters such as Doc Ock to villains most people have never heard of, such as Big Will or The Spot. It's really all up to Insomniac, but either way I'm very excited for this game. But with that said, we are going to wrap up here. Which villains do you guys want to see? Let me know in the comments below. If you enjoyed the video, please do give it a like, it really helps out smaller content creators like myself. And if you want to stay up to date on Spider-Man 2 leaks, news, discussions and plenty of other content, be sure to subscribe. We're also hoping to hit 800 subscribers here soon, so your support would truly mean the world. With that said, thank you all for watching, and I really hope to see you in the next one.